Hello viewers and welcome! So there's quite a big issue with the new Gran Turismo physics. And don't get me wrong, I quite like them, but the racing is much different. So going into the first race, as the cars line up, the clock starts ticking, it's lights out and away we go. Again, as usual, I tuck in behind the immediate car at front to get more slipstream, and since he's an older car, I have a better acceleration. You know, manual, sequential, gearbox differences, this and that. And it's just generally really easy overtake going to turn 1. However, the cars are no longer on rails and slip angle is much more of a thing than before. You can see as I get punted wide immediately by the Ferrari drivers, it seems that everybody lost their skills. Nobody knows how to drive anymore. And you can see it's a multi-car collision. 3-4 cars off the track, a couple of cars spun. I have no idea how this happens. It never happened before. And just for your info, I'm not in like bad lobby. I'm a driver rank B with a sportsmanship rank B also. So people should know how to avoid assassinating each other like we saw there. But here's the thing, the new Gran Turismo physics, that's why people are kinda assassinating each other. Most people are just not used to the new slip angle technique. Because before, the cars were literally on rails. You could basically brute force it into the corners. Now you have to be much more easy on it, much more patient, forgiving, and you just have to wait on the car more than before. So as we approach 130R, you can see I'm pretty much going side by side with the driver ahead, and we just barely make it through, but however, he just pushes me wide off the track and I have to recorrect myself. So back behind him after being pretty much... yeah, the race is over already. I started P6, I believe, and it was like, you know, again, first race, you experience the race for the first time, you know, you get the hang of it. But not in this way. And the main reason I didn't quit was, again, because I'm just, you know, getting the hang of it, getting the lean of it. Because you can see the first corner, a lot of slip angle plays through. And the unfortunate reality is most Gran Turismo drivers just cannot handle it. However, I come from a background where I did a bunch of karting, I did some ACC, iRacing at some points. And I generally have a good feeling how to drive cars. I also drive cars in real life, not race cars, but you know, I do race sports cars occasionally on the weekend. So the thing is, these physics work in my favor. You know, they're making the drivers who abuse the old Gran Turismo physics fall out of fashion, and they're getting replaced with drivers like me who have backgrounds on multiple racing platforms and who are more comfortable with more realistic settings or more realistic games. Because again, having driven a lot of different cars, you can't really brute force it in other titles or real life to be specific. So this is a good direction of the update. However, for a good month or two, and I have no idea how long it will take these drivers to adapt. Basically, the racing is going to be absolute shit, especially on racetracks with fast flowing corners that are long, such as Suzuka. So, you know, I managed to recover to at least back where I started, to P7. So let's go to the second race, which was actually worse. Now I improved my quali time, and this time was starting around P3. So I shouldn't have too much trouble with traffic. So as the clock starts ticking, it's lights out and away we go. Again, just as usual, I tuck behind the car immediately to get some slipstream. The thing with rolling starts, you can't really get immediate battles. Everyone is separated by quite a distance, I think 1 or 1.2 seconds. As you go into turn 1, quite a shallow entry because the driver just blocks me and I nearly spun it, however I just recovered it. But again, I get punted out wide on turn 1, which is just not a nice thing to have. So I lose 1 position, at least that's about it. You know, nobody really smashed me and sent me to the shadow realm. So, you know, I'll just be composed, you know, take the position back at a later stage where, you know, the race is more settled in. And I think this was my second or third race, so again, not much in terms of practice. A good bunch in terms of, you know, offline practice or alone practice on track, the qualifying pace, but not with other cars. So now going into this quite tight hairpin, you know, I just brake where I usually would brake. And then you can see the driver just sends it into my inside and just pushes me off the track completely. And that was because there he was fighting with someone else, which led to a domino effect taking place, where it led to me going off the track because these two idiots don't know how to fight. Now again, that's all thanks to the new Gran Turismo physics. Most people are just uneasy. They're slower than they used to be before, but you know, they're taking the same risks they used to take before, which leads to silly mistakes that took me out on the first and second race. And that's the thing, the drivers need to adapt to the new physics. I think it's called Mach 3. And the issue is, seems like people are slow to adapt. I mean, yeah, they can drive the cars, but they're not doing it in quite a clean or optimal manner. A lot of, you know, sticking your elbows out, and then because you're not on the old physics engine, it leads to a lot of nasty crashes and moments. So until the average driver in Gran Turismo just, you know, dials it back a little and just takes note of the new physics engine, sports mode lobbies will be absolute shit shows with crashes everywhere, just like this one. You can see it's an absolute shit show. Cars left and right, everyone's dying, everyone's spinning. Nobody really knows how to drive, so that puts us in a circus of some sort. And again, it leads to a lot of nasty moments. And the thing is, I'm trying to take it back again. I'm trying to dial it back, be safe. And you can see it does work in my favor. They all make mistakes, and I just, you know, avoid the absolute shit show they're having, and then, you know, catch up later because they're gonna have another one eventually. So I'm just gonna do a through goes Hamilton type, as Turkish Lewis Hamilton tries to go on my inside and forces me off the track. Again, people seem to have lost any sort of respect to sportsmanship, which is really It's really sad because to people who are respecting other drivers as he goes off, it's very unjust and unfair. So as I make a silly mistake, you can see me just spinning out and then pretty much calling it a day. I took a break and headed into the next race. Now with an even better qualifying lap time, I started P1. So again, I took a break, offline practice, just, learned the track a bit more, and that gave me a bit of confidence to start the race. So as the lights go out, nobody really ahead of me to tuck behind, so I'm just, taking my own pace, being wary of the car behind, what he wants to do. Again, I just want to keep it clean, avoid silly avoidable mistakes which are happening everywhere, and taking people out and that kind of stuff. So I'm just really not trying to be on the nasty end of that stuff. So since I'm in the lead, my immediate goal is just to break free from the back behind. So I'm not even trying to look behind, I'm just gonna try to drive as fast as I possibly can and just hopefully fight behind me, where I could just, piss off into the sunset. Which again, it's a very easy thing to do in Suzuka, given the driver behind you is fighting someone else. I should have really went for the slowing him down tactic, where then he'd be bunched up with the drivers behind and then piss off, But I was more focused on the more traditional route where, it's not much strategy, it's more about raw pace. Because to be fair, Suzuka is a track with a lot of overtaking opportunities. So a single slip up from my side and he overtakes me. So I'm just more focused on, again, raw pace. As I'm going very aggressive through this corner, you can see me using all the track, nearly spinning out, but just recovering it. Going into this hairpin, my trouble begins in this race. So you can see as we clear that corner, I start braking immediately after the corner. You can see he just sends a mental dive bomb, nearly forces me off the track, and I have suspension and front wing damage. Now, I have no idea what he was trying, but he literally brake tested me and forced me to smash into his back. But to be fair, from the looks of it, he wanted to give me the position, but he didn't do it in such a good way. Which now invites the German driver into the mix. While I have suspension damage, I cannot really fight this. I'm just gonna wait it out until my damage repairs, because I'm on light damage. You can see we're a pack of 5 going into one corner. There's barely any space for any car. I'm just trying to play it safe. Again, just waiting for my damage to repair so I can be more aggressive. Now I nearly get pushed off the track as the Belgian driver punts me as he fights with another driver, so I took to the long route on the outside and just joined back the track, which again was very, very nasty. A lot of cars everywhere, and that basically gave the opportunity to the Lamborghini to piss off to the sunset. Now you can see a car just spun here, and with adrenaline at an all-time high, I tried to make a move around 130R. However, he just pushes me off the track just before we enter, and I'm forced on the long way around into the gravel. I have no idea how I managed not to spin, but I just managed to get back on track and basically lost all my progress. Now back into 10th, I'm very, very, very pissed, because I have never experienced such wild racing in this game before. And after coming out on the bad end of multiple incidents, I was like, okay, that's it. I didn't care. I just went into a recovery drive and I just wanted to recover as much positions as possible. As Turkish Lewis Hamilton's demonstrated skill issue, that was one of the many positions I managed to recover, and okay, it's quite a short time. It's a 5-lap race, roughly 10 minutes total time, so you don't really get much in terms of fighting. I mean, you do have a lot of fighting, but you don't have much time to fight if you're from the back, which was exactly my case, and that's why I just wanted to extend the race as much as possible. But I don't make the rules, so I'm just gonna have to settle with the 3 laps remaining. So as I'm going through the SS, you can see me just being pedal to the metal, being very aggressive with my driving style, situated on the driver's gearbox in front of me. I really don't want to give him any chance. And as we go into this right-hander, he just brakes earlier than I would, and then that just meant I punted him off wide. But honestly, after what happened to me, I'm very glad he's enjoying the barrier. So into the other right-hander, right in front of the corner, you can see me making a crazy overtake. Through goes the Porsche, and I managed to make a couple of positions into just 2 corners, which is, is pretty valid, I'll be honest. So now into P5, I have managed to recover much of the damage done, but I still can recover more. So again, I'm pedal to the metal, giving no chances to anyone, with a black Porsche up ahead. Now I want to overtake him as fast as possible, because if I want to win this race, I have to make 5 seconds to the drivers up ahead. As you can see from the time delta, the leader is about 5.4 seconds away, which if I want to be realistic, I have to be a second lap faster for a couple laps to win this race. But again, I only have 3 laps, so I can't really do that. So I'm just, again, recovering what I can. I'm being very aggressive with the Porsche up ahead. I'm just trying to push, slipstream, do all kinds of racing tactics, mental tactics against him, just to make sure I just, get as high of a position as I can. Because yeah, from a person who wants to compete in the Gran Turismo finals, you quite got to do it all. So while this was a bad race, I guess it was good experience. There is no bad days. There is only learning days or good days. So this was more of a learning day than, a good day or a happy day. And now you can see into this braking zone, you can see one of the most places where I'm dominant here is this chicane. You can see I was pretty much like maybe 8 tenths, 9 tenths behind, and now I'm pretty much like 2-3 tenths behind. So making 5 tenths in one corner, that's half a second, which is quite rapid. Now the great thing about the new physics is there is less of a difference between on curb or on track. I find it much easier to curb extend, which just helped me become a better driver. Because again, on the old physics engine, sometimes if you curb extend, a lot of the time I'd find the curb physics quite funky. So generally I was less comfortable with the curves, which means I was just a little slower than I could potentially be. But since the new physics highlights suspension compression and decompression and that kind of stuff, I find it much easier to use the inside curb of a corner while I'm ham on the throttle. So I find mega time savings in terms of, again, curb extensions and track usage. As I make a tiny mistake you can see now I'm just slower than the cars ahead. And again, that corner is the most corner where I struggle with. It's just, you know, while you're accelerating, you have to be very precise on the throttle. And as we go out of this corner, you can see I pretty much smashed immediately into the car behind me, which pretty much eliminated me from having an easy P2. Only if I predicted that, I could have gotten an easy P2 and again, piss off on the sunset. But the German driver kind of binned it, so I got an easy overtake, I guess. Now, again, I'm faster than the driver up ahead. It's up to how consistent I am. Which, to be fair, I'm fairly consistent and quite fast on this track, but there's, again, that one corner which could ruin any chance of victory or getting P2 here. So as we approach the start-finish line to start the final lap of this race, I'm still quite within the Porsche slipstream range, and you can see he starts weaving to get me off the slipstream, which I respond to immediately and just weave smoother than him, which gives me the advantage of losing less speed because he's turning more. And I managed to make, you know, 0.05 of a second, not much, but again, I'm the faster driver anyway, so this establishes my dominance, and I'm pretty much, again, on his gearbox, giving him very little breathing room. Now here's the mental gymnastics about racing. I'm pretty much situated on his gearbox, so this gives him a lot of pressure to drive faster and drive better and do everything. So here's the thing, what's going in his mind is literally one sentence: don't crack under pressure. And the more he thinks about it, the easier he'll crack. So he managed to make a little bit of breathing room, but again, I'm still very close to him. But here's where I made my mistake. You can see I was a bit too eager on the throttle, which leads to me going off track and having to correct myself, which slows me down a bunch. Now I can confidently say, if I did not mess up that corner, I would have gotten a P2. But I cannot really change the past, and I'm just gonna have to accept a P3 or try to push very hard and hope he makes a mistake. So again, I'm back on it immediately and just, you know, pushing as hard as possible, hoping he kind of looks at the time and the time delta and he's just too focused on it where he loses focus on the race and just, you know, bins it. But it didn't really work and the gap pretty much stayed the same. So as we approach the chicane one final time, braking just before the 100-meter board, widening the entry as much as possible, eating up as much of the curb as I can, switching it to second on the exits, riding the curb as much as I can. You can see I did what I could, but I couldn't get P2 here. But I'm pretty happy overall. At least I got a podium after, you know, being sent all the way back to P10.